Hey everyone, how's everyone doing? So part of me feels like this entire lawn should be filled with people standing up and supporting what we're doing here today, right? Like, where's everybody at? At the same time, I feel like we shouldn't have to be doing what we're doing today. And that actually none of us should be here, because we shouldn't be living in a California like we're living in. We should all be doing something else, but we're here fighting, all in different ways, you know? And so I'm going to tell you a little story. You know, it's sad that we have to be here. It's sad that we can't turn on the TV without seeing a couple sitting at a cafe in Melrose being robbed at gunpoint. It's sad that I can't go through my Instagram feed with my daughter next to me because there's too many videos, especially here in LA, of crime, people getting out of their car and being robbed. A lady that was purchasing chocolates, like many of us have done in the past, at her doorstep, only to be rushed by 3 armed criminals, attacked, and robbed in her own home. This is not the California we want to hand over to our kids. And thankfully, there are good people doing good things. Lexit, Blexit, Hollywood for Freedom, Roll Call for Freedom, Firefighters for Freedom, Let Them Breathe, Let Them Choose, like organizations sprouting up all over the place, fighting fights that we shouldn't have to fight. But thankfully, there are good men and women that are answering the call and doing what needs to be done to preserve our state. And I have identified a way for me to get into this fight as well, and it was not a fight I wanted, but a fight I'm very much interested in having. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background, why I'm here in front of you today, what I'm attempting to do, and ultimately what your call is as well. So my story begins, my grandfather was born in Cuba, cigar roller, small little town, Esperanza, desired a better life for his family. So he saved up enough money to actually come to California to pursue the American dream. It took him 8 months to buy 1 plane ticket. He had to leave my pregnant grandmother and my 3 aunts behind. He came to California. It took him another 6 months to save up enough money to actually send for them. My father was 6 months old at the time, and he sent for my grandmother and my 3 aunts. And they started a humble beginning in South Central LA, eventually moved to Huntington Park, where he started his business because he believed in being independent from the government. He did not want to depend on the government. So he started a small little metal finishing business in South Central LA off 55th and Alameda. It still exists today. My father still runs it. That company wasn't successful by Forbes standards, but it provided everything that my family needed. He instilled that entrepreneurial spirit into my father, who then instilled it in me. I thought I would take over the family business. At 18, I started to work for that company, and 3 months later, my father fired me. It was one of the best things he could ever do for me. He said, you need to find your own way, become your own man. A few years after that, I was 19. I met my wife. She was 17. We've been married for 25 years. 5 beautiful children, 4 biological, 1 adopted, and we were foster care parents for a season. During those first years together, those first couple years, we were in an apartment eating hamburger helper without the meat. We couldn't afford the ground beef. We had a cardboard box as a coffee table. We had a plastic patio set for a dining table and a broken refrigerator. We had nothing and everything at the same time because we had each other, we had our faith, and we had a determination to get out of that situation. A few years after that, I started a company, small little marketing firm in Downey, California, not too far from here. I built that company up over the next 20 years to be one of the fastest growing privately held companies in America. I did it in 2018, which was hard enough, but then we did it again in 2020. In the height of a pandemic, when my entire industry was collapsing, I was making jobs. We tripled our physical footprint, doubled our staff. The reason I tell you that is because, like Tatum said, we don't just need a governor, we need a CEO. In 2021, I thought we were gonna have our best year ever. Record-breaking year in business. Family was doing great. Everything on paper was looking good. And then I started to smell smoke. I started to hear about what they were teaching in our schools: critical race theory, hatred, radical ideologies. Teachers were questioning children's gender and having them question their place in society. I saw churches that were still closed, businesses that were closed that would never reopen, the attack on our medical freedom. And I said to my wife, I said, we need to get out of here. California's on fire, the house is burning down, and we need to get out. And we were on our way to Florida, like so many people. Texas, Florida, Idaho, we were on our way to Florida. And my wife, it's all right. And my wife turned to me one day and said, you need to stop and you need to think about what we're leaving behind. And as any good husband would do, I said, absolutely not. I said, no way. And she said, no, you're going to stop and you're going to think about what we're leaving behind. And reluctantly, over the course of a month, through a lot of prayer, she made me turn around. And I thought I was going to turn around and see a burning building, one that I needed to get away from. So I turned around and I did see California on fire. I did see a burning building. But I saw 40 million people trapped inside. And then I started to look at those faces and I realized that I knew a lot of those faces. My mom, my dad, my mom who's here today, my siblings, my nephews, my nieces, my employees, our church, community, and millions of other faces I did not recognize, but I knew they couldn't just up and leave. So just because we could leave didn't mean that we should. And I'm trying to raise boys into men. And what would it show them? That when times get tough, you just up and leave? No, I always told them if you cannot find the solution, you become the solution. And I knew they were watching. So I wrestled with God for about a month, and if any of you guys have ever wrestled with God, let me just tell you, he always wins. And I said to him, what is it that you want me to do? What can I do? And he made it very clear to me. He said, you're going to run back into that burning building and you're going to save as many people as you can. And for me, that looked like a run for governor. And let me tell you, I never aspired to be a politician. I still don't. But a politician is not going to come and save us. It's going to take us. We're going to have to save ourselves. We're going to have to come in and pull down the system from the top. And I talk to a lot of people. Anybody here believe in God or read the Bible? Let me tell you something. I meet a lot of people who are discouraged about California. They come to me and they say, we're never going to flip this state. Newsom is too strong. The corruption is too deep. Don't even try, you have no chance. I thank them for their advice. I tell them I still want their vote, and then I move on my way. Because they don't understand that we're not fighting a political battle. This is a battle between good and evil. So I don't have a problem with them saying it to me, but I have a problem with believers doubting what we can do. Because let me tell you something, everybody that raised their hand, said they believed in God, read the Bible, let me ask you a question. So you mean to tell me that you believe in a God, an omnipresent God, that created the heavens and the earth just by speaking it into existence? You believe that, but you don't believe we can unseat Gavin Newsom? You believe that a whale swallowed a man and spit him out. You believe that, but you don't believe we can take back our state? You believe that a man was thrown into a lion's den, not devoured, that 3 men were put into a furnace. The furnace was so hot that the people pushing them in the furnace were consumed by fire. The 3 men go into the furnace. They walk out of the furnace, and not even their clothes have smoke on them. You believe that, but you don't believe we can take back our state. You believe that a few loaves can feed the multitude, that the blind can see, that the lame can walk. You believe that. You believe a man hung on a cross, died, was wrapped, buried, and 3 days later walked out of a grave. You believe that, but you don't believe we can take back our state? You guys need to level up in your faith. The future of California, the future of our nation rests solely on the shoulders of the church. All of us together. You guys need to figure out what your role is in this. You need to decide to run for office or support somebody who is running for office. Financially, prayerfully, volunteer. I'll leave you with this. How many of you believe that there's a giant in Sacramento that needs to be slayed? Gavin Newsom. But in case you didn't know, and I'll leave you with this, my middle name is David. True story. So I'm running to be your 41st governor. I would be the very first Latino elected in the history of California. And while we had a governor in 1875, he wasn't elected. He was actually elected lieutenant governor and then assumed the role. This would be the first time that we elected a governor that best reflects the diversity that exists within California. So June 7th, you make sure that you vote Trimino. Send me into the general so that I can fight Newsom and we can take back our state. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Give it up, everyone.